Hi, Taurus. Welcome to your July 2019 Astro Update. It's Raina here. This is really an important month in 2019, in my opinion, because this is a month where we see eclipse action. We have an eclipse in Cancer at the beginning of the month and an eclipse in Capricorn mid-month. And we have two new moons in this month, which can signal a lot of new beginnings. And it's relatively rare, so that is also interesting. And we have a Mercury retrograde, which also causes reflection, introspection, kind of going back, rethinking things in some area, depending on what sign we're talking about. In your case, this can be dealing with family issues in particular, but also real estate. So I'm going to get into those specifics, but I just wanted to set the table for you. And so as the month begins, we have Mars in Leo. Leo for you is the fourth house of home and family. And Mars is a planet that has a sense of urgency. So it's pushing us. It's kind of prodding us to do this or to do that. And in Leo, there's a sense of dignity. There's a sense of self-worth or wanting to, demand self-worth or, kind of like operate with coming from a place of self-worth. And because Mars can also be conflict, there could be something going on with you that connects with the mother, that connects with the home environment, where you feel like you have to stand your ground, Taurus. And I think Taurus is a sign that is not really necessarily that comfortable with doing that because you like to be mellow. You don't really want to kind of like, you don't like to make waves. That's what I was looking to say. You want to just have everything be nice and comfortable. And Mars isn't having it. Mars is like on the warpath. Now, it doesn't have to be that. I mean, you know what it could be? You could be renovating your home. I mean, you could be doing a tear down of your home. So just remember that there's multiple possibilities with these interpretations. So don't just automatically think it's going to be one thing versus the other. Mars in the fourth house could have you even very active with some kind of issue connected with, I was going to say negotiation, and then I stopped and I said, well, that's kind of like Mercury, but Mercury is in that fourth house as the month begins, and I'm going to get to that in a sec. But you could be like just, Mars can be just like a lot of action in that environment, that sector of the home. And also conflict with the mother, conflict with family of origin in general. And if this is the case, then you have to, because you do have Jupiter retrograding in the 8th house at this time. And the 8th house is other people's money. So there could be an inheritance issue that has kind of come back into the forefront. Maybe you thought it had gone. It's funny because I have Taurus rising, and this is exactly, it's so weird because there was some kind of a probate thing, and I thought it was going to be already dealt with, and I got a second registered letter about this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and I'm like, I was just ready for it to just be over with. So I should have said at the beginning of this that this is for Taurus Sun and Taurus Rising. Okay. So, sometimes conflict is necessary. You may have to stand up for yourself for some reason. And you may be fighting with family members over perhaps money. And if there's one thing, making a little joke here, that Taurus might decide to fight about, it could be money. So, but anyway, so that's going on. And then on the 2nd, there's a solar eclipse at 10 degrees of Cancer, and that's the 3rd house of home and family. Now, again, I want to just mention that this is a general reading, so I'm just going by, I'm not going into the different degrees of Taurus, just because I would get too confused, and I don't want to make it that type of reading. So I'm saying these things, I'm stating them categorically. Just realize that mileage may vary depending on your particular degree of sun or rising sign. And so this is at 10 degrees of Cancer, and this is the 3rd house. Solar eclipses are new beginnings, very powerful new beginnings in the area of your siblings, your cousins, and I believe your aunts and uncles. And, it's funny because people might say, well, that's weird. I mean, your siblings and your cousins, those are like two totally separate groups, but not for some people. Some people, their cousins are like their siblings. I mean, really. And even their aunts and uncles can be like surrogate parents, depending on how they were raised. So this is a time when you may find that you're turning over a new leaf with these people. The 3rd house can be your local environment. So there may be you may be exploring new territory because you do plan to move a house, and you want to check out different neighborhoods, and kind of like you may have even found one that you are going to live at. So that can be very interesting. 3rd house is also the media, and if you work in journalism, this could be a new job in that area. It can be just writing projects and teaching and learning in general. It's mundane knowledge, so it's knowledge that has a purpose in terms of like a function, a practical function. So we would say any kind of certifications and things like that, that could be the 3rd house. New beginnings with those. On the 3rd, Venus goes into Cancer, so Venus goes into that 3rd house. And Venus can bring money in the area of media. By the way, this could include the internet. So if you've launched some kind of a channel, that certainly would be indicated with the solar eclipse in the 2nd house. In the 3rd house on the 2nd of the month. That could certainly be indicated. And Venus can bring harmony with siblings and even kind of financial benefits. So maybe like with probate matters, you're like, hey, yeah, let's split the money, or they offer if you were cut out of the will or something, and they're like, okay, we'll throw you a few dollars. What the heck? We'll throw you a few bucks. And then on the 7th, we have the Mercury retrograde at 4 degrees of Leo in that 4th house of home and family. This can be, again, remember that Mars is in this house at this time. So there can be some kind of miscommunication. If you've got workers tearing down your house, just be forewarned about that, because you don't want them to tear down the wrong part of the house. Maybe they thought you wanted a gut rehab and you just wanted the garage, remodeled, and they tear down the whole house. So you have to be careful about that. And also when you're talking to your mom, if there's some kind of a misunderstanding, because by the way, Mercury's going to go back into the 3rd house. So you've had this truce, maybe with siblings, and then all of a sudden it's like on again. It's like, what? What did she say? But Yeah, so the Mercury retrograde, by the way, Mercury can be about contracts. So if there's some kind of a deal going on where you're trying to buy a house, sell a house, and there's something funky on that contract, it's going to have to be relooked at. And the third house, because Mercury rules the third house, when it goes back into the third house, it might be like dealing with the actual contract itself, and then you can get things sorted out. Remember that all of these transits, even if they are occurring and they really are true for you, are temporary. Of course, life is temporary, isn't it? So this too shall pass, whatever is going on. On the 16th, we have that lunar eclipse. This is at 25 degrees of Capricorn, and this falls in your 9th house. It's a friendly angle to you because Capricorn is another earth sign. So it's a sister sign. And this is something to do, some kind of an ending in a big way. Now, this could be, that's one possibility. This could be like somebody getting their college diploma. And because the 9th house can be university. Maybe it's like, it's finally over with. And by the way, this doesn't mean you're 22 years old or something, because I got my bachelor's degree. I think I was like 40. How old was I? I was in my 40s, early 40s. And, sometimes people quit, drop out and come back. And the other thing that this could be is that there could be, if you've if you've decided to publish something, with all that energy in the third house, you could have been writing a book, and now you've finished editing it and it's ready for publication. Full moons, this is like a powerful full moon, and full moons can bring things to culmination. So really, one of the things that I like to think about with full moons and lunar eclipses is the idea of the culmination of things, but the fertility that is associated with the full moon. It's the harvest time. The new moon is the sowing of the seeds, and the full moon or the lunar eclipse is going to be like a very powerful version of this, but it's almost like with the eclipses, it's beyond your control. You can't, the seeds that you're sowing and the endings or the culmination that occurs is destiny calling you. And you have to kind of like at certain points of life, just kind of go along with the ride. I've had to kind of realize that myself in the last couple of weeks. But even, it's funny. It's like, how they say when it rains, it pours, okay? I have just had to deal with the issue of surrender in my own life, and I feel like there's a lot going on right now. As I record this, it's the day before the solstice, and that is a very, it's full of energy at that time as well. But July certainly is an energetic month. Being a one universal month, because July is the 7th month and we're in a 3 universal year, and you add that up and you get a 1, it's reduced to a 1, you're talking about new beginnings and that sense of independence, which, by the way, ironically speaking, well, I don't know if it's irony, but the 4th of July is an American holiday. It's the birth of our nation. And that holiday is the declaration of our independence. And we call it Independence Day. From you Englanders. And that is kind of, I think, what is going on for Taurus, is that you are declaring your independence. But you're kind of like the past is really something that you're trying to break away from, I think. With Mars in the fourth house, you might be quite heated about it. You might be kind of like, I've put up with this crap for long enough, and I'm over it. And with Mercury retrograding first in the fourth, you're rethinking things. Maybe you're kind of like thinking about childhood and saying, wow, now I understand why I am the way I am. And kind of connecting the dots sometimes, But anyway, and I mean, and this could even be a house that's not your house that you own as an adult, but maybe it's your childhood home and you have to deal with the mother because she still lives in the house and your siblings are involved. And, if it's something along those lines, the emotions will naturally be aroused because you're talking about the past. And I think in general, because we're in that Cancer season until the 22nd, Cancer itself is the sign of the home and the family and the past. Cancer rules the fourth house where you have Mars entering. So there's for Taurus, there's a lot of emotions coming to the surface, and you have to be able to kind of process those emotions in a way that is productive. On the 22nd, the sun goes into Leo, that fourth house again. So the sun is there, and the sun has a healing effect. The sun really may affect how you are viewing yourself. So there is that kind of, maybe you're being more like a homebody. Maybe, and even if you're selling your home, you might be saying, I want to spend as much time as I can here until the house is, the contract is all worked out. And I'm just feeling the sense of nostalgia. Or if you've gone back to your hometown, where you're just really, it's like taking a trip through the past. You're very nostalgic, perhaps. And on the 27th, Venus goes into Leo in that fourth house. So the money, cha-ching, maybe things are starting to rock and roll, and you're getting the money is being sent to you if you've been selling your home, or in the process of selling your home, and you have the money deposited into your bank account. This can also be decorating the home, painting, putting new furniture, buying new furniture and things of that nature. The 31st is an important day because we have Mercury turning direct, thankfully, at 23 degrees of Cancer in the third house. So while it's been in the third house, you've been kind of like reviewing something maybe contractual, also perhaps doing your mental, I was going to say your legwork, your mental legwork, I don't know if that works, researching neighborhoods that you might want to move to, or just getting in contact with neighbors. Third house is neighbors, and there might be some reason for that. There may be a necessity to be in contact with them. And siblings. So if there's any kind of like miscommunication, that can be ironed out. And the same day, a new moon in that fourth house at 8 degrees of Leo. And not only is that significant because it's the second new moon of the month, but it's also in that fourth house. So it's like really moving forward with your plans that are domestic in nature, Taurus. And so I think it's pretty a pretty jam-packed month for all of us, but for you, there's really that domestic emphasis, it looks like. So I hope that you enjoyed this, and if you would like me to look at your actual natal chart, because if you're a Taurus sun sign, I don't want to confuse you, but this would be your solar information. Your natal chart is based on your time of birth. So your rising sign is the determiner of how the chart is constructed. And your rising sign can be anything. It depends on what time of day or night you were born. So the link to my website, rainamoonastrology.com, is below. I hope that you have a great July, Taurus. And all readings until the end of July are 17% off. So that's another thing I want to tell you. But anyway, take care of yourself. Bye.